Hello and welcome to this lesson on the Action Bar feature in Android. The Action Bar was introduced officially with Android Honeycomb, but is also available via the support library for Android 2.1 and above. Since its introduction, the Action Bar has become a standard for most Android application designs. The Action Bar is a window feature that identifies a user location and provides user actions and navigation modes. Using the Action Bar offers your users a familiar interface across applications that the system gracefully adapts for different screen configurations. As seen here, the Action Bar can include the app icon and title marked here with 1, action items like the search and Play Store action icons marked here with 2, and the action overflow icon or the 3 dots marked as 3. The action overflow allows for users to have access to additional actions without cluttering up the Action Bar. In most of the examples we have created, the Action Bar was auto-generated for us. Our activities in most cases extended the class Action Bar Activity, which is from the support library, to offer Action Bar capabilities from API Level 7 or Android version 2.1.x. The action items in the Action Bar offer quick access to common actions for applications. This may be, for example, an option to edit or save the content in a current activity. In some cases, these actions will open a new activity for completing the desired operation. It is important to show icons for the most useful and important user actions for a given activity. Actions that may be less common for an activity can be relegated to the overflow section. The overflow items are represented by the 3 vertical dot overflow icon. When this icon is pressed, the remaining items will be presented to the user. These menus are easily designed via XML resources. The XML resources are stored in the resources directory in the menu folder. Menus for the Action Bar in Android are fairly simple to implement. As we have previously seen, when we have created new activities in Android Studio, the default parent class is Action Bar Activity from the support library, which allows us to utilize the menu mechanism. The code generator also generated some menu methods for us automatically. One was the onCreateOptions menu method, which we see here, which allows us to inflate a menu from a resource that is from our menu folder in our resources directory. On the right side, we can see a menus resource, like the ones that are automatically generated for us when creating a new blank activity. The parent element in a menu XML is the menu itself. The children of the menu are items, which signify each item in the menu. They can contain attributes like ID, similar to IDs we assign in views in a layout that easily allow us to access them later in code. The title parameter. This is a string title to be shown for this menu item. The string may not be shown by default if an icon is shown in its stead. The icon parameter. An icon to be shown for this menu item. This icon may not be shown if the string is being shown, for instance when the item is being shown in the overflow menu. Order and category. This integer is used to order items in the menu when needed. The showActionAs parameter. This parameter defines when and how each item should appear as an action item in the action bar. The values can include if room, only place this item in the action bar if there is room for it. If not, relegate it to the overflow menu. Never place this item in the action bar. With text, also include the title text defined by Android title with the action item. Always place this item in the action bar. This should be noted that you should avoid using this unless critical that the item always appear in the action bar. Saying multiple items to always appear as action items can result in them overlapping with other UI in the action bar. Collapse action view. The action view associated with this action item is collapsible. This was introduced in API Level 14. When a menu item is clicked by the user, we receive a callback to the onOptionsItem selected method. We can then parse which menu item was clicked by the menu item ID and perform the appropriate action for that menu item click, as we see here for the action search and action compose menu items. An important concept that became relevant with the action bar is a navigation up action. This should not be confused with navigating back, as in when a user presses the back button on an Android device. Navigating up should navigate to the parent activity from the current activity. This parent activity can be declared in the Android manifest for each activity. Once a parent activity is declared, we can add the up action to a given activity by obtaining the action bar from the support library by calling getSupportActionBar and then calling set display home as up enabled with the parameter true on the support action bar. This will allow the up navigation to operate so that when pressed, we will return to the parent activity. Here we have an example of defining the parent activity for an activity in order to utilize the up component. We see in this Android manifest we have a main activity which has no parent activity, and this activity acts as the home activity for this application. The display message activity has the main activity declared as its parent activity, so that if we define the home as up enabled, when up is pressed on the display message activity, we will return to the main activity. Another component that has gained significant popularity in reference to the action bar is the navigation drawer. The navigation drawer is usually signified by an icon with 3 parallel lines on the side of the action bar. This can allow the user to open a side menu from the left side of the current activity that is commonly used for navigation to other aspects of the application. As we see here in this diagram, the navigation drawer can either be opened by clicking the navigation drawer indicator in the top left corner of the action bar, or by swiping open the drawer from the left side. The drawer is open and the user is presented with several options for quick navigation to other aspects of the application. When the user picks an option from the navigation drawer, the drawer is closed and the application navigates to the desired aspect. In some cases, the action items in the action bar menu will not be sufficient to perform a desired action, and additional information may be required. In a subset of these cases, we can obtain this additional information from the user without ever having to leave the action bar. One example of this is the case of search. We can define an action view, which will present a search icon to the user. When the search icon is selected by the user, the menu item will expand to reveal an edit text-like field for the user to enter their search term. This is accomplished by utilizing code like that presented in this example code here. The show as action needs to contain the collapse action view parameter so that the view can be collapsible. Then a view class is defined to deal with the case when the view is expanded, which in this case is a search view from the support library. On the Java side of defining the action view, after inflating the menu in our onCreateOptions menu, we can obtain the inflated search view and set our own event listeners and other configurations as we see here. An action provider defines rich menu interaction in a single component. They can generate action views for use in the action bar and dynamically populate submenus and handle default invocations. One example of an action provider is the share action provider, which we see here. The provider can be easily defined in the XML code for the menu to provide the needed item to the menu UI. Once the shared provider is added to our XML, in the onCreateOptions menu method callback, we can set up the menu and obtain a reference to the share action provider and set default intent for the provider. In this case, the getDefaultIntent method returns an intent with an action, intent action send, and a type of data that is being shared. Calling the setShareIntent method with the default intent will set the intent information for the share action so that it can be populated dynamically. The introduction of material design has added some focus to the design of action bars in Android applications. In particular, the customization of colors and color themes. With the introduction of Android API 21, we can easily set the color to the status bar, which occupies the space above our application. This can also be accomplished by utilizing the support library AppCompat. When something besides a simple color is desired, we can set the status bar to transparent to allow us to show images and other assets below it. In addition, with API level 21, we gain the capability to customize the color of the navigation bar that exists below our running application. This can also be achieved by using the AppCompat support library. The design guidelines encourage that the color should be set to transparent to show more of the application or remain as the default black. The toolbar widget offers a standard toolbar element to be introduced into our applications. The toolbar is a generalization of action bars for use within application layouts. While an action bar is traditionally part of an activity's opaque window decor controlled by the framework, a toolbar may be placed at any arbitrary level of the nesting within a view hierarchy. An application may choose to designate a toolbar as the action bar for an activity by using the setSupportActionBar method. The toolbar can contain elements like navigation buttons, like the up arrow, navigation menu toggle, close, collapse, and more, a logo, similar to the action bar icon that can be used to display the branding for the application. A title or subtitle, again similar to the action bar, allows us to inform the user of their current position in the application, with a subtitle providing additional information about the current content or state in the application. One or more custom child views, and an action menu similar to the action items and menus presented in the action bar. Split action bars can provide a separate bar at the bottom of the screen to display action items when the activity is running on a narrow screen, as we see here. Although the split action bar can be easily enabled by adding an activity tag to the Android manifest with the parameter UI options and value split action bar when narrow, this applies to Android API level 14 and higher. It should be taken into consideration that different screen real estate will be used for the split action bar than would be used by a normal action bar. In some cases, an action bar might lose its usefulness when the user enters a special mode like editing, multi-select, or text select. The normal paradigm of action items, title, and logo are less relevant, for instance, in the case of selecting text that we see here on the left side. It would be much more useful to provide different action items like select all or copy, and then provide an option to leave the select mode, which is represented here by the check mark on the left side of the action bar. When a user selects to enter a contextual action mode, the system can display a contextual action bar for completing that action. Another example we see here on the right side with the action of multi-selecting multiple items. The contextual action bar here provides several actions to perform on the multiple selected items. The ability to leave the contextual action mode by clicking the checkbox on the left side of the action bar, and also displays the numbers of selected items to the user. Thank you for joining us in this lesson about the action bar. Join us in our next lesson where we'll take a look at tasks in Android and the Android backstack.